Becky, can you tell me a little bit about the threat to SNAP benefits coming up at the end of the month here?
Sure. Well, SNAP is a 100% federally funded program, and with the federal government shutdown, we've been informed that we will not be able to issue SNAP benefits for the month of November.
We do not have the answers to all of the world's problems. They've not been revealed.
We should also be cautious about the motivation of the one who provides information. That's why the scriptures warn us against priestcraft.
In the Lord's commandment to the people of this day, tithing is 1/10 of all their interest annually, which is understood to mean income. The First Presidency has said no one is justified in making any other statement than this. We pay tithing, as the Savior taught, by bringing the tithes into the storehouse. We do this by paying our tithing to our bishop or branch president. We do not pay tithing by contributing to our favorite charities. The contributions we should make to charities come from our own funds, not from the tithes we are commanded to pay to the storehouse of the Lord. The Lord has directed by revelation that the expenditure of his tithes will be directed by his servants, the First Presidency, the Quorum of the 12, and the presiding bishopric.
One of our brethren some years ago spoke of the payment of tithing as fire insurance. Nonetheless, the word of the Lord is clear that those who do not keep the commandments and observe the laws of God shall be burned at the time of his coming. For that shall be a day of judgment, a day of sifting, a day of separating the good from the evil. I would venture a personal opinion that no event has occurred in all the history of the earth as dreadful as will be the day of the second coming, as fraught with the destructive forces of nature, as consequential for the nations of the earth, as terrible for the wicked, and as wonderful for the righteous.
The mandate given by the First Presidency and the presiding bishopric is to only focus on financial growth. EPA employees are told that the money will be used after the second coming of Jesus Christ or during Armageddon right before he would come again.
Over the last year, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has been more forthcoming about how it's investing tithing money. This latest filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission shows that despite the economic downturn of the pandemic, the church's big investment fund made money. This filing with the SEC shows the holdings of Ensign Peak Advisors at the end of 2020. When added all up, it shows the fund gained more than $6 billion in one of the most difficult financial years in American history.
Well, thank you very much for being here, and this is very exciting for me. I know so many people that are in your church and the Latter-day Saints. The job you've done is beyond anything you can think of. In 180 countries, taking care of people the way you take care of people, and the respect that you have all over the world. I would love you to, while the media's here, just say a couple of words of what we just discussed, all of the care and all of the giving that you've done, and to help people, in particular poor people, would be a great thing, and perhaps they will transmit that to different parts of this country and the world. It's so brilliant to hear it.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're here in a place where we have food.
Travis Wayne Goodsall. Because the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, under the new administration over the Strengthening Church Members Committee, Elder Cook, is going full throttle on his cyber terrorism and other attacks on me to shut me up, silence me, to protect the Church of Jesus Christ from criminal prosecution. I have more time on my hands to do more videos for which the church will also get upset with, because I'm not being silent. Bleep you. They don't get it. You should have done your research on me. You didn't. You think that because you're in a power of authority that people will just bow and cower to you. You really should have done your research on me. You've got Todd working in the church office building, and oh, he doesn't know me either. Oh, that sucks. But he at least could have told you I was the black sheep of the family, the rebel. That should have told you a lot. I am the firstborn, which means I'm the birthright blessing child. I've got attitude. I grew up with white supremacist Christian nationalists. I know how they act. I know how to tolerate because I'm forced to be around them so that they don't bully me. I know how to interact with them. But it's Mormons who are behaving exactly like white supremacist Christian nationalists, and yeah, they are. Even after 1978. But they don't watch R-rated movies. So they're wannabes. They're from the old school days, but with the church, or the United States shutting down the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, churches had to go undercover to keep it underground and use coded religious speak to keep the hearts and minds of Mormons white supremacist Christian nationalists all these years, decades. And so they really are clueless. They're in their own little bubble world of how to act and behave. And so, yeah, I get it. This was the generation of my sister Tiffany's class, 2 years below me, that had this kind of attitude that the current Mormonism is treating me with. I know what that is. And yeah, whatever. Little sensitive snowflakes. Get over yourselves. And so, no, I'm going to still try to warn Mormons to save your lives, even though you're past feeling and you're ripe for destruction. Until you're finally destroyed in the coming days, I'm just going to keep on going. See if there's anybody that YouTube slips up on that is allowed to see my video. And repent. But nonetheless, Mormons are going to continue to try to shut me up as best they can to protect this church, even after doing the video about how they worship Lucifer. I told you I was drooling for Oaks. You didn't believe me, did you? God, they've been stalking me these whole latter days. They know what I've got. They know what I've posted. They know what they've been trying to silence. They know. And yet they're playing dumb that they forgot. Dear God, such incompetence and evil. And so this is a special news segment because I'm not allowed to check out the news anymore because of the cyber terrorism. So we get to do more videos. More videos to give the middle finger to the church and those who obey them. We've got a massive warning alert coming up that's going to bite the church bigly in the coming days. And I've warned about this. And the bullies who cyber attack me under Cook's orders now, which was D. Todd's orders previously, know what this is. Even though right now they're searching their brains, what could it possibly be? I'm not sure. What is it? Is it his cookie dream? You never knew me. No Mormon knows my history. God, no Mormon cares to know the history. That's why nobody knows it. Exactly. Even the woman who wrote the book didn't know it. She likes to hear hearsay. So we'll do it last. I've already got the verse 30. So some of the other stuff that's in local news in Utah. The prosecution is arguing that by having Tyler come to court in the jumpsuit and chains is biasing a jury against him. And the prosecution perjured themselves in their argument again by claiming it's the sheriff's department. We have no control over it. No. Shall we bring in Mark Shurtleff as a special witness to the council? Shurtleff, tell the prosecution how it works for people who are arrested and show up in court, specifically with a case that's high profile that you have to deal with. Especially we can veer off on a tangent and make a whole video out of it. Yeah, like I said, I know exactly what Tyler is going through because they did it to me in 2008. And so, yeah, the prosecution tells the sheriff of the jail how to have him presented for court. He lied. 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 Because, yeah, they want him to fry when he never had anything to do with it. And again, if you're new for some reason and you did not see the videos posted all over the internet of the kill shot, not the news reporting that cut the kill shot out, the kill shot, which direction did it come from? Yeah, the Fugel building, not the Luze building. Case dismissed. Governor Cox needs to be locked up in chains. And Kash Patel is continuing to help Cox with the frame-up of Tyler Robinson. The assassin got away. And so Cox is getting Kash Patel to aid and abet in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. That's what's going on. I've told the president, nobody cares. Nobody cares. So, nursing homes. We had the scandal for a couple of years now of psychological centers, asylums, abusing victims of their abuse, but they got exposed in the news. Treatment centers were getting shut down. People were going to prison. And hospitalization of victims of the abuse and rape by the psychologists. And yet still they keep on pushing. KSL still keeps on pushing the psychological abuse through their news segments. So today the news segment was about how to teach your kid to fight back against bullies and beat the hell out of them with a fight club for little kids. Psychologists are evil. They all need to be locked up. All educational systems need to have their psychology departments shut down. All asylums and treatment centers bulldozed to the ground. It is an abomination from Nazi Germany that did experimentation on the Jews. And Utah and Mormons specifically have been targeted since World War II by psychologists to perform human experimentations on Mormons instead of the Jews now. That's why the nuclear testing went down in southern Nevada to expose southern Utahns. Mormons became the new Jews in America by the psychologists that were given asylum by the CIA. But now we've got nursing homes, which we already knew, those of us who put our grandma or parents into a home, they die mysteriously soon afterward. And not just because we didn't visit them anymore. Grandpa Simpson. Ooh, that would be a fun. Which one was it where Bart Simpson got a job working at a strip club as the bouncer at the front? Grandpa comes in, sees Bart, his grandson, is whistling, and keeps whistling around the pole of the coat rack. Goes out. Hilarious. I miss the Simpsons. I miss them. They stopped doing DVDs. So, now the big news that I had warned you a long time in advance. And it's tied to the building up of New Jerusalem in the latter days. This is the context from section 42 of Joseph Smith. He tells you, Oaks, as I did the video starting the new playlist that all Mormons hate, the words of Oaks. I had given you guys advance notice. I told you I was drilling for this. Here it is. I've started it. And you're mad? You knew it was coming, and you just lied in wait for the video to put the thumbs down and the hate comments and the death threats. And come on. It's the words of Oaks. He said it, not me. If you're illiterate, then learn how to read and understand what you read. God, dumbass Mormons and a cult group of Lucifer using the Order of Nehor to enforce their religious beliefs upon others. Bleep you all. So the news, no more SNAP. Federal government shutdown. Trump is going to try to break the record again for the longest shutdown in history. November 2nd. Is when he's trying to beat. He's well underway. So no SNAP. This is a supplemental nutritional aptitude parenting program. It's food for the poor and the needy. And instead of being the main supply of food support It's a supplement. For what? Social Security? Social Security isn't enough to live on in and of itself. And now you're saying that they need to use that money for their main source of food, and SNAP is just to supplement that. Con Air, Thesaurus Boy is telling not Quark. No, he wasn't. He was a human, right? Or he could have been the other one. Well, he was on Deep Space Nine, the Star Trek guy. About the way to study a society is to see how they treat those in prison, or the people who are worse off in society. And so, yeah, if, you know, the Jesus quote, if you've done it unto the least of these, you have done it unto me. And it's even used by Joseph Smith here, right? Yeah, there it is. Verse 38. For inasmuch as you do it unto the least of these, you do it unto me. He's talking about the poor and the needy. And so with no more SNAP, we've got well over 100,000 people in Utah who are on SNAP. They ain't getting SNAP this month. And so the food pantries are panicked because they need donations. They can't prepare if nobody donates. But again, it's the false claim saying, teach a man to fish, you feed him for a day, or give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. That's wrong. Anybody know how? Anybody who's gone to higher education and then graduated and then what? No job? Especially in that field? Exactly. That's the problem. You can't just claim you taught somebody how to fish or how to feed themselves rather than giving them welfare of a fish every day. You've got to obviously teach them, but then after they graduate from the teaching, you need to provide them with the tools to go fishing. All that is necessary to fish. Does no good to teach somebody for book memorization, and then they go out into the world trying to find a job and they starve to death because they didn't have the tools to get a living. Plus, you need more than just the tools. This is under the assumption that there are good, clear, or good waters, bountiful waters, great waters, supplying a sufficient number of fish, not just for the one individual, but for all who use it. Good, healthy, strong fish, not poor, sick, mad cow diseased fish with bird flu. So that they can have that ease of doing the work themselves rather than struggling for survival and being king of the mountain to destroy other people so that you are the one who survives. There's a whole bunch of things wrong with that teach a man to fish crap. I've told you the story. In West Valley City, before here, church was pissed that I had found out that they're the enemy who are going to destroy us all. The way to perfection, the final solution. I was the president by default of the Neighborhood Watch. And so after one of the meetings where I went over preparedness in the neighborhood for any kind of emergency and stuff, and people were offering their suggestions, one of the members in the ward came to me and told me about how he had been in a meeting with the church discussing welfare emergency preparedness, where they were told the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints cannot and therefore will not be able to provide aid in a natural disaster, let alone for the state or a city or a county or a neighborhood. The bishop's storehouses that they currently have is insufficient to handle a simple neighborhood disaster. They just don't have the supplies to render assistance to those families who are now without and have paid their tithing to the church, expecting fire insurance policies to be honored. Ain't gonna happen. So here we have a situation of over 100,000 in Utah who are about to have no food for November, who use it for their main supply even though it's supposed to be supplemental. Families, elderly, the poor and the needy. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is not prepared for Armageddon. Now granted, Oaks came out and said in the press and the announcement that I did this morning that he has not received any revelation from Jesus about how to solve the world's problems. I guess Jesus doesn't know either. Crap. What kind of a church is this? It's a satanic church, that's what. Should have known by the inverted pentagram on the keystone of the doors of the Salt Lake Temple headquarters. Instead, I had to use Oaks' own words against him. And still Mormons are upset. Bleep you, Travis! Church is true! Hail Satan! I mean Jesus! Bleep you! You Satan lovers. Order of knee horrors. The bishop's storehouse at Welfare Square was not started until after the Great Depression. The church had had a welfare committee, as they're now trying to claim in retrospect. George Albert Smith was supposedly in charge of that. And so, yeah, Heber J. Grant has said on the Wikipedia page about it, done by Mormons, to be faith promoting. To consult him, can you figure out what we can do? How do we solve this problem of Mormons starving and being impoverished? What do we do? How do we fix it? Jesus isn't giving me revelation on the matter. Nothing says true church like failure. here the whole time. And I guess I should go over the Book of Mormon from which it was based upon first. So after explaining that section 119 is all wrong, abominable, and corrupt, and is not by Joseph Smith, about priestcrafts of the Order of Nehor, that such organizations claiming to be religious leaders are not seeking the welfare of Zion. Ding, 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 ding. We've got a pattern match with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And you get mad at me, huh? Well, we just don't like your tone. If you were innocent, you wouldn't feel guilty and get angry and do the Order of Nehor to me. Jesus is gonna murder you, Travis. Really? Is that what you think Oaks says? Oaks is gonna murder you. He got leaked. Devil never supports his own. Literally. So, first of all, you have to have love, not hate. That will clear your mind so that you can see clearly. Then he says, those who are in Zion are to labor for Zion, not the church, not an administration, not even the kingdom. Zion is the people who love, pure of heart. Remember? You don't remember? They don't do scripture masteries anymore. For if you labor for money, such as tithing, you'll perish. Right here. If the church is going to have section 119 for the millennium, the Book of Mormon already says it's going to fail. Just like they've already failed numerous times in numerous different ways. You have to be good, you have to be righteous in order to get the correct inspiration, you dumbass Oaks. You Satan worshiper. You can't do it for money. All monetary systems of economy will collapse the civilization. It is a historic fact. The Bible, even in Ezekiel chapter 16, 17 is about the Jewish Christ in America, says that Sodom fell and was destroyed because they neglected the poor. They were filthy rich with food aplenty, and they neglected the poor, and thus they fell. Les Miserables, blah blah blah. The poor have to steal to feed themselves and survive. Marie Antoinette, isn't it Marie Antoinette? Let them eat cake. Let's confirm this. It would be nice if it was Marie Antoinette. That means my associative memory is on par for that. But if it's Queen Elizabeth, it sucks to be me. The church was also waiting for October 14th because that was when AI was supposed to be operational with Skynet. And so because it didn't, that's why they came out and made Oaks the king on that day. Who said, let them eat cake? Marie Antoinette, the Queen of France. Français. Thus Les Miserables. Oh. I'm really in a mood to go back over my Pink Panther series franchise after the Louvre got robbed. As you can tell by the thumbnail picture I used for that day. And so Joseph Smith expands on this as to how to do it, so that the members in Zion have no monetary system of economy, and yet everybody is taken care of. And so that's where we go back to the beginning, because that's where Vassini told me to go. Section 42, right before the word of Scripture is the law to govern the church. So here's the word of Scripture for the law to govern the church concerning tithing for the storehouse of the Lord. If you love me, keep my commandments. What is the commandments? 10 commandments. Love God and love your neighbor. Verse 30. Behold, thou wilt remember the poor, and consecrate of thy properties for their support. It doesn't say the poor in Zion. It doesn't say the membership poor. Every church, well, we'll get to it, that which thou hast to impart unto them with a covenant and deed which cannot be broken. And inasmuch as ye impart of your substance unto the poor, ye will do it unto me. So there's another version of it. Okay? And they shall be laid before the bishop of my church. So lots of Mormons say, I don't give fast offering, I give tithing. Or they say, I'm not giving to the Utah Food Bank because I give tithing to the church. They determine who gets food and who doesn't, who's worthy. Not in Zion, that will not fly. And they shall be laid before the bishop of my church. And this is not just the presiding bishop. Every single ward, as we now call it, thanks to Brigham, Joseph Smith called it a branch of a stake. Every church. So again, I have to repeat this information that should have been obvious. The quorum of the 12 apostles has the assigned duty with the keys only of Peter to be traveling missionaries. So when the quorum of the 12 apostles was established, Thomas B. Marsh is the president. He and his quorum are to keep a record of where the 70 for their quorum, the missionaries, go to preach the Book of Mormon and establish churches in the various townships. They assigned the missionaries 2 by 2, not individually or not by a group. In Indiana, there's some background history you're missing out on my 9K videos. We'll just call it 9K now. And when they established a church in the locations they were assigned, they return and report. Thomas B. Marsh writes it down and keeps a record of it. So that Joseph Smith then gets a returning and reporting from Thomas B. Marsh about how the church is growing and expanding. Yeah, we've got churches here, here, and here, and so Joseph Smith is able to go and visit them and establish the authority of the church in those areas. to assign people to the various callings needed. Or his counselors. And then each church in a township is supposed to have a storehouse. That's the bishop's storehouse. That's the Lord's storehouse. That's the fulfillment of Malachi. Will a man rob God? Even if they're the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? Yet they have robbed me. Wherein have they robbed thee? In tithing. Hoarding it for Jesus, who's never going to manifest himself in the flesh. He just tells Oaks to hurt people, even Mormons. Real simple. So even as Brigham Young claims he's the true succession of Joseph Smith as only the president of the 12 with only the 1 keys, ignoring section 107 verse 22 that all the keys needed to have gathered in a Melchizedek priesthood meeting and voted for the successors. Nonetheless, he still took Joseph Smith's scriptures. He still had section 42 from the 1835 edition of the Book of Mormon, which he kept in his 1844 edition to sneak in section 119. He intentionally did not want to obey Joseph Smith's law of tithing for the bishop's storehouses. He came up with his own. And how well did that work? It didn't, for the members anyway. So compare this with section 120 that Brigham Young finally agreed to put in the year before he died, but because it's after section 119. Rather than referring to section 42. Thus it should have been 43? Or at least footnoted to 42. Nope, Bruce R. McConkie made sure you referred to section 119 instead. So verse 31. And inasmuch as you impart of your substance unto the poor, you will do it unto me, and they shall be laid before the bishop of my church, and his counselors, and 2 of the elders or high priests, such as he shall appoint, or has appointed, and set apart for that purpose. So yes, section 120 was Joseph Smith revising that by saying that the first presidency of Joseph with the presiding bishop, or the bishop of each church, settlement, town, along with the high council of the town. Which, yeah, we all have high councils in the stake still. But Brigham Young combined the presiding high council, which is the authority to do administrative stuff, with the traveling mission presidents called apostles, with only the keys of Peter. And so both Oaks and Anderson came out in conference and said apostles rather than high council. That is the word in section 120. They lied, and they expected you not to read it and check them on it. Oops, I did. Joseph Smith had set up his scriptures to be the law to govern the church. Brigham Young intentionally violates it. and still violated to this day. That's why there are no bishop storehouses for all of the 36,000 wards around the world. Scattered still. Do you know how big of a difference this would have made? How the whole world would perceive the church? That instead of having to bring the world leaders and Trump's military to Welfare Square, along with Trump back in 2017, to show them how great the church is. Oh, look at how big this place is, this silo, it's real big. It is nowhere sufficient for the needs. And I don't even think that the silo even runs anymore. I think it's just a showpiece. When I was a firefighter up in Alberta, Magna, not Magna, McGrath, oh my God. We did weekly trainings, and on one of the nights training, we were informed about how if the granaries ever caught fire, that we would have to just stay back and let it burn. Because the way it was designed was such that it's just so intensely heated that a vehicle would have the paint melted off of it just by being within 100 feet of it. That's how intensely hot it would get. And so there is no way to hose it down without burning yourselves trying to put it out. Such a fire would be a major catastrophe, not just because it's the granary for the food of the people. So yeah, that always comes to mind when granaries are involved. And so this is what I've been going over with you of how it's going to be designed in Zion. Wait, I'm getting inspiration of how to design, build, and run Zion? How can that be? Oh, right. Oaks isn't being told by Jesus how to do it. But I am. What is that supposed to mean? Probably has something to do with section 107 verses 91 and 92. Mormons. They will not let you go. So yes, if they had been obedient rather than usurping Joseph Smith with section 119, it'd be a whole new church. Night and day difference. We'd actually see what Joseph Smith's church would have become. Nope. They framed him, blamed him, and murdered him. And then turned him Christian. And turned it into the Order of Nehor. And so yes, this problem could be easily solved. The church refuses to do it. So Operation Rio Grande. The church was pissed that the homeless were panhandling at Temple Square, because the homeless know that the church is hoarding money. And so it's their version of protesting. And so the church ordered the state legislature, the government, at both the Salt Lake level and the federal or the state level, to do something about it. Exterminate them. Kill them. Yeah. But they can't come out and say kill them. Mormons are supposed to understand their temple covenant paths. And so you had the scandal of the idea of building the Gateway Mall. Not the City Creek, the Gateway. Right across the street from the shelter. To divert the homeless away from Temple Square and to the Gateway Mall. And they knew that would be a problem for the store owners at the Gateway Mall. It was all a setup. And sure enough, it was built and they came. And the customers stayed away because of the homeless. You need to understand 1,100 beds in the Rio Grande shelter downtown. 1,100. And it was overflowed of over 100 every single night who could not get in. And now we're over 4,000 homeless. And so the one legislature wanted to calm all rich Mormons down, saying, I'm going to go spend the night and figure this out. So yeah, he was in one of the stores with a nice cushy chair or bed to sleep in, spying on the homeless through the security cameras. Through one-way mirrors so they couldn't see him. And so the next day, I know exactly what to do. Jesus came to me and told me what exactly to do to solve the problem. I've got it all figured out. Round him up and throw him in jail. That was his master plan. Lock him up for being poor. And the idea was that, oh, well, now that they're locked up, we can say, hey, you can go to drug court or mental health court for your problems. And they'll give you homes. They had no intention of building new shelters. None. Both the drug treatment centers and the mentally retarded centers said, what the hell are you doing to us? We have no homes. We're in a housing crisis in Utah, and this was back then. It's escalated as a crisis, just like the number of homeless have escalated. See the consequences of not following Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon. You know them by their fruits. Devil worshippers all. And so, yeah, then they realized, crap, now we have to rebuild shelters. And so Gail Miller stepped in to get paid. I'll human traffic them. Give me of your substance, and I will build a concentration camp to house them in. And give of them nothing, not even a fish per day. So that all the money goes to her, so that she can then launder it back to the church for the Joseph Smith Papers project, for which no Mormon can afford to pay for the books and didn't even know there was a website of it. with the actual documents that some Travis Wayne Goodsell has been using on all his videos. There's High Council. Yeah, verse 34. Therefore the residue shall be kept in my storehouse to administer to the poor and the needy, as shall be appointed by the High Council of the church and the bishop and his council. See? A presiding presiding bishop and a presiding high council, as well as at each ward level or branch level, ward level. And this shall be the pattern for the coming of New Jerusalem, which shall be hereafter to be revealed. 19 July 1840. Huh? Which section is that? It's not a section. Brigham Young was pissed, refused to publish it. Joseph Smith Papers, remember? Remember when Benson comes out and says, the Constitution will be saved as prophesied by Joseph Smith, but it will not be saved in Washington. What prophecy of Joseph Smith? 19 July 1840. Yep. So yeah, storehouse. It's all what it's about. The church failed to do it. And this is now going to have Mormons turn on the church. Unless the residents here in Utah keep on giving over and over and over and over and over their money to the food banks. That's the only way to protect the church now. That you have to suffer to give to the poor, when your tithing was supposed to go for the poor in the first place. See how the church is keeping the money, refusing to use it for what it was supposed to be for? So if the food banks collapse and are not getting the donations, and the people are realizing the financial crunch that is happening with the shutdown into November, they're going to have to shut down. They can't operate if they don't get donations and money to pay for their living working there. They're not going to work for free. They're going to call in sick. So yeah, we got a major problem across this nation coming very soon. And there's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints raking in the dough while the whole world financially suffers. And so all it takes is for people to be reminded, oh yeah, the whistleblower said that the church has multi-billions of dollars. And then there's some guy, Travis, who says trillions, but I don't know where he's getting that number from. You didn't listen to the whistleblower, did you? So, yep. People may be gathered in one in the day when I shall come to my temple. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints must fall, and great must be the fall thereof. That's 1 Nephi 22, which we can close on. We can close on that. I see how this could be fulfilled now. 1 Nephi 22:13. The blood of that great and abominable church, which is the whore of all the earth, shall turn upon their own heads. Shall perish. Why? Robbing God. Money. For they shall war among themselves. Mormons demand food, support, The church is filthy rich and hoarding it, saying that Jesus is coming. We're giving it to him. But Oaks said there is no Jesus. Jesus speaks through him, and Jesus doesn't know how to solve the problems of the world. Thus, fighting with the sword, and guns and knives and all other kinds of violence is coming to downtown Salt Lake City, Temple Square, where the church wanted to get rid of the homeless because of their poverty. Where Gil Miller only provided 700 beds, but tried to mask it by saying, we got 3 shelters, 3 is more than 1. 400 beds short. Oh my God. They screw over the poor Bigley here. So yes, when Nelson took North Temple to get to Thule dedication, sure enough, they finally cleared out the underpass of the homeless for that weekend only. And turned on the lights just for Nelson. See, everything's fine here. We don't want the prophet seeing that Utah has a poverty problem. And thus the great and abominable church shall fall in the pit that they digged to ensnare the people of the Lord. The law of Purim from the law of the Jews, Deuteronomy 19, verse 19. I sees it coming. Oh, thank God we don't have to go for another couple more years waiting for Armageddon to happen by the church. It's coming! Yay! Zion! But it's going to be through much bloodshed, because Mormons are too wicked, and they are going to be betrayed by Lucifer.